Listen up, America. They're not gay. They're fags. God hates fags. Fags burn in hell. Fags die, God laughs. Fags equal AIDS. Fags doom nations. Amen.
What was Fred Phelps like, by the way? I know he passed away a few years ago, but what kind of man was he?
Pastor Phelps was, he was the epitome of a hellfire and brimstone preacher to me. He didn't compromise.
He was more crude, wasn't he? And
I don't know that I'd say crude.
saying fags will burn in hell. I mean,
Well, that's a pretty good statement of fact. If you die unrepentant, you're going to burn in hell.
why was he excommunicated from the church himself on his deathbed?
Well, I'm not going to get into specifics on it, but anyone who's excommunicated, they're removed from the membership because they have refused in some form or fashion to separate themselves from some sinful behavior.
So did Fred Phelps have a change of heart at the 11th hour?
I'm not sure. I don't know the man's heart, right? I can't know. You know,
There must have been something if the man who was head of the church and started the church was kicked out of the church just before he died.
well, again, I'm not going to get into the specifics of any one person's.
And the church are so good at pointing out the sins and flaws of others. Why won't they come out and say why Fred Phelps was excommunicated? Is it something they're embarrassed about, or is it because he did have a change of heart and rode back and stuff he'd been teaching that they don't want the world to know about? Why won't they just come out and say it?
Well, because we don't believe in holding up anyone.
You hold up the rest of society to your moral values.
Well, I'm going to take someone who is exceedingly public in their sin. I'm going to point that out.
Yeah, and you have signs about Elton John, Princess Diana. I can list off a plethora of names.
Sure.
So he was your public figure. He was the head of the church. He founded the church. And then he was kicked out of the church just before he died. So why won't they say why?
Well, because he's dead. Okay? I don't know what the state of his heart was at the time. If Elton John dies, my message will be, it is pretty likely that Elton John is in hell. The preponderance of the evidence that I have in front of me.
But they had enough evidence to excommunicate the leader of the church and the founder of the church just before he died. I mean, it must have been a pretty seismic thing that he said or did or came clean about.
Which, again, is no one in the world's business. So I'm not going to hold him up to some form of inspection when he's not here to answer for himself. And here's the other piece you have to strongly get your arms around. This place, this body is not about any one person. This whole...
And I don't know why you're trying to protect him.
No, it's not about protection.
Well, then why can't you say, well, here's the sin. Like the rest of the world, he succumbed to sin and he's gone to hell.
Because it's no one's business. That's
But
why.
everyone else's sins are your business.
Those who hold their sins up publicly, sure.
But is it a difference between holding your sin up publicly and privately? It should be the same. A sin is a sin.
Well, so let's take you personally, right? You're not standing out on the street corner or in front of a microphone saying, I'm committing this sin and I love it and you should all think I'm a great person for it. He didn't do that either, right? Elton John, on the other hand, does that on a regular basis.
But doesn't your church think as well, because I have a platform on radio or TV and because I don't condemn the homosexual agenda, that I am, as you say, a fag enabler, so I'm going to hell too?
The media outlets that you work for hold it up as a grand lifestyle. And those who have the pulpits, the bully pulpits, as we say in this country, those who have the power of the microphone and the broadcast, yes, they have an obligation to speak the truth.
But when you pick at the funerals of soldiers, when you pick it outside schools, they're not public figures, and you're condemning them as well. So Fred Phelps was a public figure. He was known all over the world, but no one will say why he was excommunicated and kicked out of the church. It just seems bizarre to me.
Well, because your perspective...
And very hypocritical.
Well, your perspective is not quite aligned properly. This is about a body of people upholding the scriptural standards, not about some, titular head. We're not going to make it about any one individual person.
So as an analytical and mathematical person, if you had to put a bet on it, where is Fred Phelps now? Is he up above or is he down in the fire?
I'd probably say he's in hell.
It must have been pretty bad, whatever he did or said.
all sin is bad. All sin is bad.